Hey folks, today I wanted to share with you an LL and Fetch update, and I've got some pretty exciting news towards the end of this. So let's kick off with liquid loans. We're pretty happy. It's been a flawless deployment and the system's actually working exactly as we had intended. So we couldn't be happier with the deployment itself and how the protocol's actually performing. Just in terms of some of the performance, just wanted to run through some of the stats so far. Really good that we have over 900 active vaults at the moment. The upside of that, or certainly from our point of view, we had always hoped to exceed the number of vaults open when compared with our parent Liquidity. So we actually have more vaults open than Liquidity does at this point in time. So we're really pleased about that, considering it's only been just over 2 weeks that we've launched. So it's pretty exciting that we're progressing at the rate that we are. So really happy with that level. The other thing to bear in mind is that we actually had over 1,027 or thereabouts unique wallets that opened a vault in the first 14 days, which again, it's just a reflection of how people have really engaged with the protocol itself and really understand its the viability of having a protocol like liquid loans on PulseChain. So really happy with that. The amount of total value locked, the last time I checked, it's close to 45 million USD, which represents around 730 billion pulse that have been effectively taken off the market and locked up in vaults. So again, this is the intent. The intent was to be able to extract value, but at the same time, take some pulse off the market. And at the moment, we're tracking around the 730 billion mark in terms of the amount of pulse that's been locked up. So really happy about that. And again, remember guys, this is what DeFi is about. It's about locking up tokens, creating yields, using that in a constructive way. And we're very happy with the progress, particularly with the amount of pulse that's been taken off the market. In terms of the amount of USDL that's been made available, the total supply at the moment is just shy of 20 million, which again, we're really happy with the progress. We are expecting that to continue to climb, but at the moment, we're close to 20 million in terms of USDL supply. Of that, interestingly, 75% or thereabouts is actually staked. So people are actually using the protocol, minting USDL, taking their USDL, and parking it into the stability pool. Now, there's a significant benefit of doing that. There's massive yields that are occurring with the protocol, and I'll speak to a little bit more about that. But to give you an idea, I think if you're parking your USDL in the stability pool, the returns around the APR is calculated around the 200% mark. So that's a phenomenal return, given that you're basically locking up a stable coin in the stability pool. So it's actually a really solid return for providing stability to the protocol. So again, it's no surprise to us that 75% of the stable coins that have been minted have been used in that way. The other is the staking pool. Staking pool returns around 60%. So what does that mean? Again, we're looking at the loan token here and using the loan token and staking that token. Remember, when you do that, you are getting a return, and the return is 67% on that, staking the loan token itself. But the other thing to bear in mind here is you don't get paid in loan token, right? So there's no additional loan token being issued as a consequence of staking. What tends to happen there is that the payout is effectively in the stablecoin USDL. That again, if you're receiving USDL, you should be thinking about potentially providing stability and getting some significant returns there. And the other is from any redemptions that may occur, you're also getting any pulse that may come through the redemption mechanism itself. So on those two things, I think bear this in mind. Our idea was always that we're never selling, and the reason we're never selling pulse. And we want to take pulse off the market to actually help facilitate growth and obviously an increase in the price of the pulse token itself. But conversely, we're also looking at never having to sell the loan token. Now, why on earth would you never sell it? Well, mainly because you're getting a good yield, but more importantly, you're getting paid in a stable coin and you're also getting paid in pulse. So this is a yield-bearing token. And again, I'll reinforce this. Our catchphrase was never selling, but people presume that we were just talking about never selling pulse. And sure, we never want to do that because we feel that pulse is going to continue to grow in value. But more importantly, you have a yield-bearing token in the loan token itself that you should be looking at generating more yield and obtaining USDL and obtaining pulse. And again, if reflecting on what I mentioned earlier about the returns that the stability pool providers are getting, taking that USDL and parking it in the stability pool is probably another good way of generating further yield from the two tokens of the protocol. So again, performance has been really good. We're really happy with the performance so far. We anticipate that will continue for quite some time. So make sure that if you have pulse, and tell any of your colleagues that may have pulse, that may actually be wanting to do more with their Pulse. Don't just let it sit in the wallet and doing nothing. Take advantage of the protocol and generate some yield. Now, remember that when you do that, make sure that you do that in a very conservative way. And when I say that, what I'm referring to is the actual individual collateral ratio that you choose should be to your risk tolerance level. And so my view personally, I think 200, 250% individual collateral ratio is reasonable, because I tend to watch the price movements on a daily basis. And I don't expect that the price of Pulse is going to drop by 80 or 90% in one day. That historically, actually, I should check this. It may have happened at the very beginning, but certainly has not happened for the duration. Certainly in the last 3 or 4 months, you don't get those type of drops in one day. If they do drop to that level, it generally is a progression of a number of days where that occurs. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is adjust your individual collateral ratio to your own personal risk level. And personally, I think 250% or above is actually not a bad collateral ratio, where you can actually make adjustments if you need to, if the price of Pulse starts to drop. So again, take that into consideration. We're kind of expecting that Pulse will continue to increase in value over time. That individual collateral ratio will obviously also climb as the value of Pulse climbs. That's the upside. But on the flip side, that if Pulse does decline, then you may need to consider adjusting your individual collateral ratio. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. One particular way that I like is that because I'm staking, for example, the loan token, I'm getting paid in Pulse and USDL. Any Pulse that I accrue through the staking rewards, I just feed that back into the protocol itself. And what that does is it basically allows me to add more Pulse to my vault. It increases my individual collateral ratio. And I use the system to maintain a really healthy ratio for myself. And I'm doing that by basically farming the tokens that I'm receiving through the staking pool and placing them back into the protocol itself. So a couple of different ways that you might consider. But I think that's really important, that don't just do one thing in the protocol, actually consider a multiple number of things. And I've actually noticed that people are tending to do that. They're going in, perhaps minting their USDL, putting it in the stability pool. Because they're in the stability pool, they'll get loan token. Those loan tokens are then placed in the staking pool. The staking pool then generates PLS and USDL. They take the USDL, place it back into the stability pool. So it's a very circular way and a very good way of generating cascading yields across the different methods in the protocol itself. A couple of other things to bear in mind. We've had really good adoption. Just, it's really nice to see that some of this listing sites have started to list both loan and USDL. I think DBank, CoinGecko, CoinPaprika, Livecoin Watch, Rabi Wallet, CoinScan DeFi, and then there's a number of others that have actually started to list the tokens, which is really good. So again, we're expecting to see a little bit more adoption come through that way. The other thing, something occurred just recently. I think there's been plenty of chatter around this. The Ledger hack, we weren't affected. Main reason being is that we didn't use that particular mechanism within our DApp itself. So neither Liquid Loans or PulseChain Safe, that is obviously also a DApp, none of those two protocols are actually affected by that hack, thankfully. But it's one of those things that you must always be mindful of those things. And there's always something that can catch you out. And that was another example of things that can go wrong. Personally, Trez is probably my choice. I'm not a Ledger fan, to be honest. I think there's been a number of situations for them, which is unfortunate for them, but I feel a little bit more comfortable using a cold wallet like Trezor. But again, I'm not promoting either. But if you have Ledger, just be mindful. They've had a couple of issues, and this is probably another example of problems that they've had. Fetch is something that we haven't really spoken a hell of a lot about. It's an important part of the overall ecosystem that we've developed. And the main reason for that is that we needed a price feed, right? So we are getting a very solid price feed using the Fetch Oracle service. It's in a controlled deployment at the moment, so it's working exactly as it should be. We're aiming to transition to a more decentralized version early into the new year, and there'll be further announcements on Fetch. But Fetch is a really important part of the ecosystem, and so far so good. It's working exactly as we'd hoped. We'll start to make that more decentralized in the new year. Look, we know that there will be some tokens that will become available for Fetch. Without making any sort of promises, guys, we'll always look after the folks that have supported the Liquid Loans ecosystem. You'll hear more about that in the future, but we would expect that we would recognize those that have supported us so far. So just wait for some more announcements on Fetch in the new year. The other thing, just on the Fetch protocol itself, Halborn, the audit report's now available. available. So you can actually download it and read the report itself. It's on the fetchoracle.com website. It's at the top navigation bar. Just click on the audit button and you'll be able to download the audit report itself. One of the things I mentioned at the beginning is that there's a really important announcement or exciting announcement from our point of view, and that is that we're really pleased and delighted to be a participant in the 4th annual Hex Conference. That is from the 6th to the 9th of January. We will be speaking on day one, and we do want to recognise Matty Allen. Matty's been sort of hosting this for a number of years now, and he's gone to a lot of effort to really corral a group of people to provide insights and updates, not just on Hex, but also on PulseChain. And we're really, really proud and excited to be part of that, particularly now that we've launched liquid loans. I think in the past, it just felt a bit premature, but now that we've launched, we're very, very happy to be a participant of that particular conference. And all credit to Matty for all the efforts that he's gone to make that a success. And actually, we're very excited to be part of the world record attempt for the most YouTubers live. So we're looking forward to that. And again, that's on the 6th to the 9th of January of next year. And finally, given the time of year that it is, and certainly on behalf of myself, Dave and Walrus and the entire team, we do wish you a very Merry Christmas and a happy and safe start to the new year. Thank you for all your incredible support throughout 2023. We hope you have a wonderful festive season. We're really excited about what's to come in 2024, and we're looking forward to catching up with you then. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.